closing moments of Jacques Rozier's short blue jeans, the camera follows two shoeless young men strolling along a seafront promenade. Its lateral tracking movement frames them against a crowded Mediterranean coastline. The 2.40 minutes long sequence is interspersed by a pounding alternation of cut-ins and jump cuts. Women in beachwear emerge in rapid succession on screen right as the non-diegetic charanga transplants its Cuban blend of African and European music on the heterotopic shores of the French Riviera. Sporting their tight white t-shirts tucked into their dark jeans, the two men cheerfully poke one woman after the other. The victims appear unaware of the camera and either ignore or walk away from the two mischievous strangers. Their exposed skin bears witness to the post-war relaxation of patriarchy-ordained societal mores about female modesty. The invisible spectator is in turn invited to voyeuristically witness this moment of homosocial bonding predicated on male heterosexual desire. Much like the opening shot of the two men driving their Vespers towards the spectator, the closing fade-out leaves their kinetic energy inexhausted. The sequence's interventionist proto-cinéma vérité blending of documentary and fiction bookends the film in its circular conclusion. While its approach parallels an earlier scene showing the two men's pickup attempts on a crowded sidewalk aboard their two-wheeled vehicle, its formal organization is closer to that of the two men's staged encounter with two young women walking along the seafront. After the men's initial approach fails, the two girls hop on their scooters to escape another pair of exhibitionist older men. The four hitchhike and split up to share a moment of intimacy by the sea, before meeting again for a night out in the city. Accordingly, the final sequence opens with the superimposition of two hand-drawn women against the seashore. The back glass illustration of the flagship pinball machine, which the two men played with after bidding farewell to their dates on the previous night. The two images linger on the edge of the screen before being effaced as the two men resume their balneal courtship routine. The significance of Rozier's adoption of the tracking shot in his first feature, Adieu Philippine, is most explicit in how it rearticulates the way in which Blue Jeans mobilizes this aesthetic device. Set in 1960 Paris, Adieu Philippine's loose narrative about the romantic rivalry between two best friends unfolds with a striking degree of levity, spontaneity, and modernist self-reflexivity against the off-screen backdrop of the Algerian War. Juliette and Liliane, two young Parisians performing in bogus advertisements for household appliances, compete for the same man, Michel, a working-class 20-year-old television technician with a mustache and only 2 months of freedom left before his conscription. As Christian Metz's reading of the film suggests, Adieu Philippine can be read as a documentary on modern life. Although audiences largely ignored the film upon its 1963 release, both Cahiers du Cinéma and its former employers uphold Adieu Philippine as the most exemplary text of the Nouvelle Vague. On a formal level, the film relies heavily on a series of neo-realist formal operations, such as on-location shooting, the use of non-professional actors, and post-synchronized sound, as well as handheld shots to reveal the surface appearance of French society at the halfway point of Les 30 Glorieuses. This is particularly apparent in Juliette and Liliane's 2.30 minutes long dance-like promenade across Paris's bustling sidewalks. The sequence is comprised of 17 shots. The majority of cuts are hidden by the editing's reliance on the graphic matching between tree trunks and street lamps, human figures and a parked car, which lend the two women's movement the quality of a seamless flow. In addition, the sequence is not introduced by a long dissolve, but by a rapid fade-out, followed by the non-diegetic staccato playing of a piano in major key. The build-up comes to an end with the appearance of a medium shot, showing Juliette and Liliane moving screen left at a frenzied pace. Filmed from a moving vehicle, the two women appear one beside the other against their scrolling urban surroundings, set apart by their outfits' chromatic opposition. The use of a long focal length registers each shake of the handheld camera, the image's roughness endowing it with a greater degree of authenticity. The duo passes in front of a museum, a cinema, crowded cafes, and various shops, as male patrons and pedestrians alike turn their heads to stare at them. A static shot shows Juliette glance at a shop window before their journey resumes at full speed, and we are thrown back into a whirlwind of people, parked cars, posters advertising plays, and Juliette and Liliane's reflections doubling their image. They emerge out of a large gathering, having acquired a stalker who begins following them around, attempting to flirt before a cut promptly expels him. A street photographer attempts to block Liliane, who raises her arm to evade him, while the camera recoils to keep her inside the frame. Much like the pickup artist, his attempt to freeze her image fails. In fact, Juliette and Liliane's heads momentarily disappear against the white sky, reflected in a parked vehicle's windows, and they are turned into a pair of mannequin-like headless figures. Their elliptical journey comes to an end as they reach their destination through a series of jump cuts. Liliane points to the off-screen space before running into a phone booth to call Michel as Juliette follows her in. The cameras struggle to contain Juliette and Liliane's unstoppable kinetic frenzy, aptly thematizes women's newly acquired freedom in the public sphere during this period of rapid modernization. Most importantly, the sequence transcends the consumerist commodification of the female body that the film occasionally partakes in, while appearing self-aware of doing so. Rozier captures these moments on the street, uprooting the studio-bound French cinema to seek the truth of everyday urban existence and dispel the artifice of the tradition of quality. Meanwhile, the interracial couple in the background conjures the table discussion between Marceline and Landry in Chronicle d'un été. If Michel's coming to consciousness assigns him a political trajectory, which the plot does not afford to the two childlike female protagonists, the silencing of female agency on the soundtrack is unraveled at the level of the image. The indexical eruption of reality the camera documents resists symbolization and goes beyond authorial intention. The image of freedom Juliette and Liliane's promenade stages provides an anti-model to that emerging in Blue Jeans. It gestures towards the utopic prospect that Liliane will not have to follow in her mother's footsteps and reprimand her daughter for going out, and thus actualize the elderly's condemnation of the new generations for living upside down. This possibility Michel articulates in the film's closing line, "I've got time. What's another day?"
Angeli del cielo che sentite questa gioia che mi date non toglietemela più.